So imagine this. You're scrolling through social media and you stumble upon a coach. You've never heard of them before, but for some reason, you're drawn in. Their message resonates with you, their authority is clear, and you feel a strange sense of connection. And before you know it, you're reaching into your pocket, you're pulling out your credit card, you're signing up, you're becoming a client, and you're like, how did that happen? Has that ever happened to you before?
Well, I mean, that is the power of persuasion. And not just any persuasion, but the kind that's rooted in the principles proposed by, and maybe you've heard of him, renowned psychologist and author, Robert Cialdini. It's subtle, it's impactful, it's everywhere, by the way, believe it or not. And we're going to break down why that happens, how that happens, and how you can have that magnetic presence on social media as well, listeners, because we're going to look at real, tried, true, proven principles of persuasion today.
Love it. We're going to dive in. We're diving deep into these principles. I'm excited.
We're diving deep. And I do want to touch on how we came to this subject for this week's episode of, by the way, this is the No Excuses Coaching Podcast. I'm Ryan Montes. That's Alana Banks. Hi, Alana.
Hi.
So we were chatting before we hit record today, and Alana asked me, Ryan, have you heard of this thing? And she said the name of this like persuasion product. And I was like, no, but it sounds like something, I can't remember exactly how I said it, but it sounds like somebody's taking other persuasion theory and rebranding it, which a lot of people do. I'm not saying that's wrong or right. And then she explained to me what she had. Alana, you explained to me what, I don't know why I'm talking about you like you're not here. You explained to me what you had seen in this content on the internet. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like a couple of like super old, persuasion theories that this person has just rebranded and, is sharing with people in a slightly different context, right?
Yeah.
And so then we got on the subject of like, well, what's like the original? If, like when we talk about coaching, how to do coaching, a lot of coach training and life coach training out there is rebranded NLP, rebranded neuro-linguistic programming. Like there's so much coach training and life coach training where you look at it and it's just straight up NLP, but it's with different names, different jargon, et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to persuasion, what's the equivalent? What's the original? Like if we go back, one of the most fundamental and one of the most popular, sets of theory and research about persuasion, it's Robert Cialdini's work. I believe he's a university professor also, but he's more well known as an author.
Yeah. And this is back in like the early 80s too. So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah. So this is going back pre-internet, back in the 80s. Cialdini published a book, I think it was called Influence. There's been some revisions to it since then. He has other books, another really good book called Persuasion. But like his claim to fame and his gift to the world are these core 6 principles of persuasion.
Yeah.
That we're going to talk about today and how they work and how you can apply them. Remember, this is the social media season and this is the coaching podcast. So how coaches can ethically use these principles in their social media to attract clients and turn followers into clients.
We're going to talk about it. And it's so funny because, as soon as I watched this ad, it was actually an ad on Instagram that I was telling Ryan about. And like, as soon as I watched it, I was like, I know all of these principles. Like it was so obviously NLP to me. And I was just like, I have to talk to Ryan about this when we get on our recording today, because it's like, I was like, I know I've heard this before, but I don't know where it's from. Okay. So we're going to dive into this list and fill you in on like how you can use these principles in your social media content so that you can convert your followers into clients. Cause that's what we want, right? We want the people who are following us to become our clients and pay for our services and buy our products and all that stuff.
Yeah. And off the bat, I want to demystify the word persuasion because a lot of people, especially people who are new to entrepreneurship, do not understand what the word persuasion means and attach weird connotations to it. Persuasion in the context of business should never, ever mean making somebody do something that they don't want to do. It should never, ever do that. That's a whole different thing. That's, undue manipulation. That's fraud, right? When we say persuasion, that is not what we're talking about. I want to make that really clear here. Persuasion is ethical. Persuasion is salespersonship. Persuasion is competent and effective communication that helps people who are in alignment with your product or service make an informed and appropriate decision for themselves, whether to invest or not. That's what persuasion is here on the No Excuses Coaching Podcast. And if you're dealing with any reputable person, that's what persuasion is. Would you agree, Alana?
100%. Yeah. We're not trying to manipulate people into working with us, right? We are persuading people who fit our niche, who fit our, avatar, if you want to use that word, the people that we really want to work with. And we're just educating them on what we have to offer. And if they want to sign up, then great. If they don't, that's okay too, right? We're not for everybody.
Yeah. So in other words, if you're listening to this and you've got a shoddy product or service and you're just looking to trick people into buying it, and then you're going to run away with the money, this stuff's not going to work. It's not going to help you. It's just not.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. That being said, let's just jump into them.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
All right. So these are, there's 6 principles here. Maybe you've heard of these before, kind of here or there. I do definitely recommend everybody reads the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. Please go buy it. It's excellent. There's an audiobook version as well. And then we're going to talk about how you apply these in your business and social media. Number 1, reciprocity. Number 1 is reciprocity. This is the idea that people feel obligated or more likely to give back when they receive something first. This is literally the entire concept of social media. Yeah. It's being part of the story, being part of the media, being part of the value that is to be consumed, right? Well, if you want people to follow you on social media, which is the first, primary, and most foundational step to them becoming a paying client, you need to provide real and genuine value. Your content needs to be interesting and informative. It needs to be of decent quality. You need to be sharing information about a subject that they care about. Boom. This one's so easy to do on social media because you're not going anywhere if you don't do it.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I want to point out, and I mentioned this last week as well, don't worry about giving away too much value for free, right? Because that information is available somewhere else. If you're not sharing it, it's probably available somewhere else for free. So, don't get caught up in this thing where you're wanting to hold all this stuff back and not provide too much value, because the more value you can provide, the more authority you're going to build, which we're going to get into in a little bit after. But the more that your followers are going to receive, and then that is just going to make them think, oh man, I'm getting all of this value, all of this transformation with her or his free content. What's it going to be like when I'm in a coaching relationship with this person, right? Yeah. It just actually makes them want to get in front of you even more.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Absolutely. So, and the first currency, by the way, the very first currency that your potential clients and your followers will pay you in is not money, and it's never been money. The first and perhaps the most valuable currency in the world, especially for a business or an entrepreneur or a coach, is attention. Mm. That's the reciprocal arrangement. When you're putting out valuable content, you're doing content marketing, which is what we do on social media. In return, you're getting your audience's attention, right? You give value, they give attention. They follow you. They give engagement, which is a form of attention, right? That's the reciprocal arrangement, which is unspoken and which is happening between you, the coach, the marketer, and them, the followers, potential clients, the people that are consuming your content. And that's a beautiful thing, because that lays the foundation for the relationship to grow into something more, into a coaching relationship. Yeah. So reciprocity. Boom.
Love it.
Cool.
All right. The next one is scarcity. And this is when people value things, or not when, but people value things more when they are rare or in short supply. So this is why you'll often see like limited time offer or while supplies last when you're, listening to ads or watching anything on TV, for example, or because that's letting you know that there's scarcity involved. Like it's a limited time. It's not going to be available forever. This is also why some coaches they'll offer something for like a limited amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And then, or like they'll offer you the replay for a limited amount of time for free. And then you have to pay to have like lifetime access to whatever masterclass or webinar or program that you're watching the replay for.
Yeah. And so, this is an important principle to remember. And because you can actually, if you give too much access to your services, it can actually lower the amount of people that take advantage of your services. Think about the grocery store, and think about these sales where it's like limit 8 per customer. Well, how many people go into the grocery store and buy 8 cans of tomato soup in 1 week? Not many, right? But how many transactions do you think the grocery store records of 8 cans of tomato soup when there's a small discount on the soup and a big sign that says limit 8 per customer? Dozens or hundreds of sales that week of people buying 8 cans of tomato soup. This is like my favorite example of scarcity, right? So in your coaching business, again, we're not saying, manipulate people, but by any means ever. But if you're thinking, should I put a limit on how many people I'm going to let into this group coaching program? And should I publish that limit if there is one? Probably yes. Probably it's going to work in your favor. I have for my small certification trainings, when I'm running a board certification for hypnosis or NLP, I have a strict limit of students because I want to maintain a 6-to-1 ratio of students to instructors, right? And if I'm running, a course on myself, that means a maximum of 6 students. So, and I'm honest about that during consultation calls. When I used to do the calls, now I sell things more kind of mechanically through systems. But, I would say that people would often ask, how many spots are left? And I would say there are 6 spots. When they're gone, right?
Yeah.
And so that motivated people to, make up their mind whether they wanted to get into the training more quickly and to, not hum and haw and think about it, because they know, well, if they don't act fast, their opportunity is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful example of scarcity. And we see it over and over in all different types of sales methodology. When people have the idea that, they can just come and pick up the product or come and pick up the service anytime they want, they lose that urgency to invest. And then often they just forget and they find something else or whatever, and something they would have invested in and got great results and been happy with, because they delayed the decision. A decision delayed is a decision denied, right?
Yeah.
So scarcity. So
yeah.
There you go.
So when you're creating your content, keep that in mind in terms of like letting your followers know that whatever it is you're promoting at that time isn't going to be available forever.
Yeah. The other spot is where I see this, if somebody goes to book a call with you, like a consult call with you, and they're looking at your Calendly or your calendar booking, and you're available from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week, and every single time slot is open. Yes. That sub-communicates a couple of things. That nobody's booking calls with you, which doesn't look great. And that like you're way too available, right? Because if you're a highly in-demand coach, chances are you're going to be doing other stuff with your time than being available 24/7 for free consultation calls, right? So you want to build maybe a little bit of scarcity into that system as well. Yeah, and it does work really well. Like last week I was doing this palm reading class. And so to offer my service to people, I said, I'll do a quick 15-minute free reading just so I can practice the skills that I learned. And I'm going to do it on this day between this time and this time. Here are the time slots, pick one. And
I was a little bit worried about doing that because I was thinking, oh no, what if these 5 people who signed up for these free things aren't going to be available? But it actually totally worked. Like I've got tomorrow, I've got 5 palm readings booked, and they're all back to back to back to back during this time slot that I selected. And it made it easy, right? Because then the people were like, well, I got to pick one of these time slots now or someone else is going to take it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
don't be afraid to like be the leader, right? And just say, this is the way it is. And if it works for you, amazing. And then if it doesn't, you work something out on the back end.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one?
The next one is authority. Authority. And this one, devotees will have heard me talk about this a lot. And actually, a couple of years ago, you were there. I did a hypnotic marketing and authority building masterclass, which is one of my most famous and popular masterclasses to date, because presenting yourself as an authority in your industry and in your niche is vital to attracting happy, satisfied clients.
Yeah. Okay. So, how can we develop our authority on social media? What are some ways we can do that? One would be going live regularly, because live subcommunicates that you know what the heck you're talking about, right? Because it can't be edited. So if you're live and you're doing a little like 5-minute, 10-minute live on something that you're really into, or something that you are an expert at talking about, then that's going to show your authority in the topic, right? Because you can't edit it out. It's candid. Is that what you call it? Candid? It's
It's
kind of like
candid.
this when we're doing our podcast too. It's just
Yes.
like we're just talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And we edit out the ums and ahs and stuff like that. But I mean, we're not re-recording and like adding stuff, right? We're just candidly talking about things that we're knowledgeable about. So going live is going to show some authority for you.
That's a big one. Anytime you teach and demonstrate your expertise in subject matter, that helps to establish your authority. Also, and this one's going to come back again later, but client testimonials,
Yeah.
people talking about how much value they got from working with you. That helps to establish your authority. Low on the list, but worth mentioning, are your certifications, right?
Mm-hmm.
To many people, certifications are meaningless, and it really depends on the certification. But if you have a certification and it's a good certification that you're proud of, make sure you're mentioning that and making it clear. Or if you're attached to a professional organization, like I'm attached to the American Board of NLP and the American Board of Hypnotherapy, these are very highly esteemed bodies. I mean, they lend themselves to my authority as well. So if you have something like that, that's a good thing to share.
Yeah. Or even pictures of you, like posting photos of you on a stage or being interviewed by someone, or resharing you being interviewed on a podcast. That all subcommunicates that you know what you're talking about and that you're an authority in your
Yeah.
field of expertise.
Yeah. Some other like automatic quick authority builders. If you have a PhD or you have a master's degree, those are good things. If you have doctor in your title, et cetera, et cetera. Like
if you have a book.
If you have a book, yeah. If you have author in your title, which I have, depending on what your niche is, if you're ex-military, that could be an authority builder, or if you're current military or whatever. Yeah. So I think we got that one.
Yeah, we got that one.
We got that one. Cool.
Okay, number 4 is consistency or commitment. People like to be consistent with the things they have previously said or done. This principle involves looking for and asking for small initial commitments that can be made. So that's kind of like asking for a deposit, I would say, maybe on something.
It could be a deposit. I think one of the best ways that this has been broken down into like good details by Russell Brunson in his books. He's the ClickFunnels marketing guy.
Yeah.
He is an expert in sales, and he talks about the value ladder, right? Where people first invest in you by, signing on to your free newsletter or following you on social media. And then they invest in you by, spending a small amount for a $7 thing or whatever, and then a little bit more. And that plays to this principle of persuasion, the consistency and commitment, because if they've invested $5 in you, then that demonstrates that they like and trust what you have to say. So they're more likely to invest in, in your $500 program or your $5,000 program or whatever, right? This value ladder. Another way to use this is, people will use in a shorter context, a thing called a yes ladder or an agreement frame, where, you might ask a potential client, are you truly committed to getting result, XYZ result, at whatever your niche is? You might ask them that before you present your offer. And that kind of plays to consistency, because they've said, well, yeah, of course I'm committed to this result. And then here's the perfect solution, right? And then they might be more likely to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's not because you're tricking them into saying yes. It's because you're bringing fresh into their memory, into their mind, into their conscious awareness, how committed they are to getting the result, right? So again, this is not about tricking anyone. This is about helping somebody make an informed decision, right? Based on their own needs.
Yeah, it's like shining a light on what they really want, right? Like this makes me think of a class that I just attended where prior to the class, we had to fill out a survey on like a number of things. And one of the questions on the list was like, how long have you been wanting to run a retreat? And you put in, like, this class was specifically about running retreats. And, some people were like 10 years, 1 year, 3 years, today, right? And so at the end, when the coach is then pitching his service and you're like, no, I don't really want to, he can go back to that survey and be like, well, you said on the survey here that you've been wanting to, do these retreats for 10 years. So isn't today the best day to go ahead and do that? Right. So it's just sort of like shining the light on what you really want, but maybe you've got a whole bunch of limiting beliefs standing in your way that are preventing you from saying yes today to that service. Right. Yeah. So it seems sneaky and tricky, but it really isn't. It's actually like a really great way to pre-qualify the people that are in your class, following you, getting on a sales call with you.
Yeah. And you can't abuse it, because if you try to abuse it and you try to use it for a manipulative person or purpose, it won't work, and it'll actually damage rapport.
Yeah.
If you be like, well, you said, you really want to get results, so why would you not sign up for my program? Like, if you go that angle, you're not going to make a sale, and you're going to damage your reputation quickly, right? So don't do that. Cool. All right. Next one is this one's fun. Liking. We are more likely to invest in somebody who we like. And for those of you that are NLP trained, you might notice that there's some commonalities between what we're talking about in these principles and some of the core beliefs that you learn in NLP. So if we think about rapport, if you're an NLP coach, the greater rapport you have with your clients, the more easily and readily they're going to get results. If you're talking about a sales or persuasion or marketing context, we could use the word rapport in place of liking, and it would make just as much sense. But the more people like you, the more they find you pleasant to deal with, pleasant to interact with, the more likely they are to invest in you and to cooperate with you and to want to be around you, right?
Totally.
And it's funny that this even needs to be on the list, because you think it might be common sense, but it is important to remember, right?
Well, and when I look at this too, like, I really make it mean, like, just be you, right? Like, I remember when I first started out coaching, like, I thought that I had to be this like bubbly, like really enthusiastic person, right, on my social media content. And that isn't, like, I'm a friendly person. I'm happy. I can be enthusiastic, but that's not my resting set point in terms of like showing up. So it never felt really authentic to me. And then when I finally discovered, oh, I can just be me. I can just show up as Alana Banks and not this like coach version of me, then going on social media felt so much more comfortable
Yeah.
because I wasn't putting on an act. So just be you, and the people who are attracted to your personality and the way you interact with the world will be attracted to you and will like you.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah. So there you
And,
go.
also with this one too, when it comes to social media, it's like when people comment on your stuff, comment back and be friendly and kind, comment on other people's things in a friendly tone, like other people's stuff, like engage. And that's also going to increase your likability as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Show interest in other people, right? That's a way to show people how likable you are by showing them that you like them, right?
Yeah. Like ask questions,
We like
right?
people who like us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't like people who ignore us, right? Yeah, cool. Love it. Okay, we got one more.
One
Yep.
more. So the last one, which we've already talked a lot about, I think, is consensus, which is also social proof. So people often look to the actions and behaviors of others to determine their own, especially when they are uncertain. So this is like testimonials, people talking about your coaching, about their experience with you, um, and then posting that obviously all over your social media.
Yeah, this is why, a nightclub will have a line down the street, even though the club is empty,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because they want to demonstrate to everybody in the neighborhood, like, look, this place is in demand, spread the word, right? Before they let everybody in. Um, and yeah, this one's kind of connected to authority only because some of the things that you can put on your social media will establish both authority and social proof, even though authority and social proof are technically different principles. But like testimonials, for example, will both establish your authority and the social proof at
Yeah.
once,
Yeah.
right? Um, but authority is like your expert status, whereas social proof is other people like you,
Yeah.
right? Other
Other
humans.
people like you and you actually do what you say you're doing,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like proof that you're a coach and you can help people.
So testimonials, reviews, a lot of talk about user generated content on social media lately, which is where your followers have produced content that has something to do with your product or your service or you, and then you can then post that
Yeah.
on your social media. That's social proof as well. Your number of followers is social proof, but as a reminder, you don't need to have lots of followers on social media to make lots of sales as a coach. But more followers does technically lend itself to social proof.
Yeah.
Cool. Boom. All
All
right.
right.
There's 6.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is, I don't know if I would actually use the word favorite to describe any of them, but I think the one that new coaches need to lean into, because they tend to fall short on this, is authority, presenting themselves
Mm.
as an authority. And like one of the things I'm going to be talking about in some of the social media training that I have coming up, by the way, reach out to me if you're interested in that, is a lot of people accidentally present themselves on social media as an enthusiast rather than a service provider. So they represent themselves as somebody who's really excited about a topic or really excited about coaching rather than somebody who is a professional coach that's offering coaching services.
Hmm.
And it's very subtle. It's in the way they write their captions. It's in the way they write their bio, et cetera, et cetera. And it's that lack of authority that actually makes the difference, right? That's something that a lot of new coaches, especially if they have an employee background where they weren't an entrepreneur before becoming a coach, they fall short on this. It's easy to remedy once you understand it and know how, but it's so important. And for a lot of people, that I see out there, it's the difference between paying clients and not paying clients. It's how well you establish your authority and what you do.
Yeah. I like that.
Boom.
One thing that I'm leaning into, and I think others should lean into it as well, is the reciprocity. I can do a way better job of like hosting a monthly webinar or going live weekly to share what I talk about, which is sexual freedom. So that's what I'm leaning into. And I think that everyone else should too.
Yeah. Get the word out there, put the value out there, give. Don't give away the farm, right? But it's hard to get, like, assuming you're not consuming all of your time producing content, like, don't do that, right? Because you need time to serve your actual clients. But yeah, give away good information, give away good knowledge. If you can change somebody's life with your free content, they're going to really trust you to help them with your paid services, right?
Yeah. And one more layer to that, and this is something that I kind of learned recently, is like, don't talk about the stuff within your niche that everyone else is already talking about. Like, go 2 or 3 layers deeper. And that is going to A, help with your authority, but B, it's going to make you stand out with like content that's not falling into that like vanilla content that everybody in your niche is sharing.
Yeah.
So that's just a little hot tip.
Agreed. Yeah. Hot tip. Love it. Hot. Okay. I guess that's it. Boom.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for this week.
Love it. It's a very concise, high quality episode.
I agree.
Yeah. Like all of our episodes. Top tier.
It is. It's a top tier coaching podcast.
This is a great podcast. This is an excellent podcast for excellent people.
Mm-hmm. So what's happening with your membership? Maybe let us know a little bit what's going on there.
So it's coming out soon. My social media training membership. I'm just finishing up the curriculum right now. It's going to be really great. I'm actually giving a presentation to one of the bigger hypnosis and coaching schools this Friday, a couple of days from now.
Cool.
I'm sure some of the people listening to the podcast will actually be in that presentation. So yeah, it's going to be rolling out within the next couple of weeks maximum. Probably even next week, I'll start taking registrations. And it's, we'll get a little bit into these persuasion principles, but it's how to, put the effort in, the minimum effort in that's going to get the maximum results out. To stop doing all the stuff that wastes your time on social media and focus in on the minority of tasks and efforts in social media that are most likely to convert strangers to followers and followers to clients. So if you're interested in that, and by the way, I'm designing it to be a highly accessible membership, which means not a huge financial investment. It's going to be low cost, high value. So shoot me a message on Instagram at Ryan Montes NLP if you want me to set you up with the details.
Cool. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds really great.
It's going to be so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
What do you got? What's happening?
What's happening over here? I've got one more. When you guys hear this, I have one more HypnoFlow class in Toronto at Downward Dog. So that's happening. I'm also planning a retreat for November. Don't have a date locked down yet, but I will be doing a retreat to help you with your sexual confidence in November. So there will be more details to come on that. And I am relaunching my group program called Embrace. We just wrapped up the first cohort, I guess you could call it. And so I'm just going to run it again. So that's a 6-week program, group program, where you learn how to improve your sexual confidence.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All sounds terrific. Those retreats are going to be awesome. I know.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Lots to come on that.
Cool. Buy merch. Follow us on Instagram at It's the No Excuses Podcast. Thank you to our new subscribers for subscribing and following. Hi, Sharon. It was so lovely meeting you.
Hi, Sharon.
Yeah, Sharon also I noticed shared the name of our podcast in a Facebook group that I was in this morning. So thank you, Sharon. Yeah, I guess that's it.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.